Rolling Thunder, an iconic piece of rock and roll art painted for the Grateful Dead by Alton Kelly, now on sale for $100,000. As retirement looms for the baby boomer generation, it's not just the classic sports car which is driving these investors to buy a symbol of their lost and sometimes misspent youth. Bonhams recently held a sale in New York where selected album cover originals raised nearly $1 million.
It's a fairly niche area, but it's one that I think a lot of people are becoming increasingly interested in. I think they're beginning to realise now that the rock and roll art that was created to wrap the album is as important as the piece of vinyl.
It may still be a niche market, but it's one with some big ticket prices. Originals of Roger Dean's covers for 1970s mega band Yes are valued at $2.5 million, but more accessible to the old fan base are the limited edition prints.
A lot of people who bought posters when they were students want to replace them with something more durable, and the prints are meeting that need. You know, someone who as a student could afford $3 or $4 is now happy to pay $2 or $3 or $4 or $5 or $6,000 for a print.
Despite the potential gains, most collectors are not buying into this as an investment, but instead are trying to reconnect with an important part of their past.
I guess they're probably all of an age now where they were listening to the music in their teenage years. They love the music still. Now they've made some money and they're still very interested in the whole culture surrounding the music, and they like to have objects around them which reflect that interest, and they have the money to do that now.
I didn't start collecting actually commercially. That wasn't the point. Because of my earlier passion, youthful passions, it was something that I was drawn to, and even though I had sort of played around in vintage cars at one time, which I didn't really feel the connection in quite the same way, or in fine arts it didn't appeal to me in quite this way.
And it's not just about the artwork. Just as alluring to frustrated rock wannabes can be the instrument themselves. The vintage guitar market is also strumming along nicely, as highly strung executives use their idols' instruments as the ultimate stress relief.
Most people buy them because they like them, and it's the only way they can switch off and get away from all the problems that they've got to deal with during the day, and they just enjoy it.
And in our financially uncertain times, vintage guitars have certainly proved a good investment. In some cases, certain types of guitar have gone up 30 to 40% a year. For some, however, reconnecting with their rock and roll past may not be quite the ride that they're looking for. Some need something a little more visceral.
You've had your kids, you've paid off the mortgage. Now it's time to invest in something for yourself. And what could be better than the mother of all midlife crisis buys, the Harley Davidson?
There is a bit of that. I mean, Harley have been around such a long time, and a lot of these guys can refer back to perhaps a moment in their past or in their youth where they may have hankered after a Harley, or maybe even had one. And I think there is a lot of nostalgia to play there.
It's certainly a driving factor for many a Harley owner.
Certainly of my age, sort of grew up on Easy Rider, and that was sort of the bike that you always saw in the shop and you wanted. And eventually when you get older, you've got enough money to afford it, and you're sort of buying into that sort of nostalgia.
So it seems that whether you get your kicks from big bikes, original artwork, or reproducing riffs, the midlife crisis market is very gratefully far from dead.